All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hey, everybody, it's Brian. Welcome to the Tuesday stream. How you doing? I hope everybody's been doing well. Thank you so much to everybody who continues to support the show, even though we being me, I was out for a week going to an on-site in New York City because we were... Yeah, okay, good. Because our organization got reorged. And so my team was meeting our new management, getting to know one another, and doing that perennial activity that everyone seems to have to do and hate, making goals. So I'm actually asshole deep in making goals right now, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna have to wedge my door. 1 second. One of the things about having sliding glass doors is when you close them and the wind blows, you have to kind of wedge something in between so they don't rattle, because they annoy the shit out of me. So there we go. And plus, you know, yeah, so got to go to New York, which was nice. The temperature was lovely. Yeah, I mean, it was great. Got to go and eat some nice New York City fare, mostly pizza. Good bit of tacos, though. Good bit of tacos. There was a place called Los Tacos Number One, which Los Tacos Number One, which is in New York City. There are several, right? Let me see. There we go. All right, so there are several in New York City, and we went to the one near the Madison Square Garden, which is right here. We went to this one. When my friend told me about it, he was like, "We need to go to Los Tacos Number One," and my first thought was, well, okay, we're going to the first store, right? It must be a huge deal. No, they just called themselves Los Tacos Number One. So I was like, oh, right. Guess that makes sense. Because it wasn't, you know, Los Tacos number 235 or whatever. All of them are Los Tacos Number One. So, you know, bit of food porn here. You know, you got your barbacoa there. Pretty simple menu. They had an interesting ordering style, like no ticket, no taco. So you had to take the receipt you got from the checkout and walk over to these nice people who are in white hats, show your ticket, and then they would give you your food. Yeah, quite interesting place, very busy. We went at about 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. So it was very busy, yeah. So you see they got carne asada, pollo asado, adobada, the nopales, cactus, if you will, prickly pear cactus, or some sort of cactus. I don't know if it's prickly pear, but the nopales was interesting. So yeah, we got some of that. Yeah, it just says, you know, cactus right here, but could be any sort of cactus, I'd imagine. So yeah, it was good. And yeah, quite a bit of stress. Not gonna lie. Gonna kind of level with everybody. A little bit of stress. The meeting of a new team. My new manager comes from GRC, and it has been my experience that GRC people love them some numbers, I tell you. So a lot of my week, especially with regard to goal making, getting to understand where we sit in our organization, not to be too overly generic, but 1 second. There we go. Figuring out where we sit in our organization, It's been our fourth reorg of our team in less than a year, or no, about a year and a half. So needless to say, we've been thrown around a little bit because there was a lot of political machinations. I found out after the fact that some of the reorg was to keep us from having to report to a particular group or team or what have you. And you know, it was awfully nice of the previous administration to do so, but to be fair, it was going to happen anyway, regardless. I hate to be speaking in generalities, but the other thing in the getting to know you session of meeting our new management, a couple people leaked that I have extracurriculars. And I wouldn't say leaked, but, you know, they made it known. It wasn't, you know, and I would rather not have advertised that to my management that, you know, I have a stream and I do a podcast and all that stuff, because they just don't really need to know. They just don't need to know. And so, you know, it was a nice visit. Got home, I don't know, 1 a.m. Pacific on a Friday morning because San Diego has some hellacious fog going on right now. And it caused flight delays from New York. I actually picked a nonstop flight because I was like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with travel delays between New York and San Diego, because there was a couple of flights that was like, oh yeah, you fly to, you know, LA to JFK, or you fly whatever. I flew into Newark, which was a direct flight on Alaska Airlines. Well, there was problems at the San Diego airport, so I still got delayed like 2.5 hours. And so that was painful, because it was like, oh, you know, you have to leave, you know, downtown Manhattan, you know, for a 7 o'clock flight, which the guy in the Uber said, probably a good time to take off around 3 in the afternoon if you're going to get down here, because it still took us about an hour to get to Newark. And so I was like, oh, I'm sitting pretty. I'll be able to sit down, have dinner. I did all that. And they were like, oh, sorry, you're going to be delayed for another 2.5 hours because planes can't come in. So we're like, oh, shit. So that was interesting. But yeah, New York was great. New York was great. I look forward to potentially doing that again. You know, obviously the return to office stuff was still kind of ugly. Our management had an AMA on that, and thankfully I think I'm still going to be okay, even though there's a lot of folks in our organization who are going to have to go to the office. I find it funny where there's people in our organization complaining about return to office, but we also have people who don't have a choice to go into the office. So I hesitate to ask a lot of questions about that, because it feels like it comes from a privileged position, and I don't want it to be like, well, you're not special. You know, what are you asking about not having to go back to the office? I have to drive an hour and a half to office, or I have to spend 3 hours, you know, a day on a you know, commute on a train or whatever. And I feel like I shouldn't, you know, complain too much about the RTO if I know I'm not, you know, may not be affected by that, or, you know, they never had an opportunity to work from home after the RTO stuff was announced. So yeah, so that's what it is. And things are progressing rapidly. We're I don't know what it is. It's so some of you may have dealt with this. You have a reorganization, you have you're not going to be reporting this team, or you may have a transfer from one team to another where you're going into a new team, and people start asking questions about, hey, do you have this, or, you know, what's the process for that? And you realize, well, maybe it's time to update your documentation, or why are we doing this? Or they might ask you why you're doing that, and you're like, well, that's just the way we've always been doing it. And, you know, their first question is, well, we probably shouldn't do that anymore. And I'm like, you know, you might tell yourself, well, that's easier said than done, because, And as I've tried to explain when we're creating goals is we need to be able to have some measure of control over that goal. It's all well and good for security people to have goals, any team, frankly, to have goals. But the impetus is to make goals that look good, right? Everybody talks about SMART, right? That's stupid, marginal, something. SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. The problem is you can make goals and immediately you know you're never going to actually achieve that goal. Even though the A is achievable, yeah. If you're making a goal that requires one or more teams, or I would say more than 4 people to help achieve that goal, you really need to pare that down. And really you need to, if you're a upper, lower, middle management like myself, you need to point that shit out. You need to say, look, that team probably already has their own goals. Are they willing to collaborate with us on that? Are any of their goals aligning with what we're doing? And I know the sound of flipping is somebody moving over to a different Twitch channel. It's probably boring as shit, and I'd really love to vent about goals, because there's yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah. I really need a vacation, I think, probably. The unfortunate thing is I received some information from management about the previous organization that we used to work with, and some decisions that were made that were a little unpopular. So plus, with this RTO and it being the holidays, a lot of companies see that as a time to cut the fat, if you will. Not saying that there's a chance of a riff, but it would not surprise me. It's interesting to listen. I hope the new organization will be better. Well, thanks, Fix-It. I have a feeling it will. Well, the problem we had the last six-ish months with the last team we were with was it didn't feel logical. We're an extension of the vulnerability management type program, so it's not scanning and what have you. It's a facet of that, and it makes more sense in this case. So, but yeah, the issue is the numbers game, and there's a lot of teams that sometimes when you're working in an organization, sometimes teams don't know what you exactly do, and that is. It's almost like, when you go into a restaurant and they don't have a menu. It's like, well, what can we order? It's like, I don't know. What do you want? And then you come up with that whole big, back and forth. It's like, I don't know. What do you want to have for dinner? So, yeah, my, yeah, the next, I would say, probably month is going to be real hectic at work. It's, it always is, but it's really, I think, stretching us as a team, and I have to caution our new management about taking on too many things, because I've been in a couple meetings where it's been like, yeah, we can do that, and I'm like, whoa, hold up, can we take on that work? You don't know. You can't assume that we can do that stuff. And so it's been one of those things. Is like, what are we doing already? How many drive-bys do we have? And it's really the difference. The biggest difference for me is I feel more empowered to do things than I did in the last 6 months, where it felt like I didn't have a lot of decision-making capabilities. But I think in this one, I want to say, and it's not about power. It's about being able to make a decision without, it being having the ability to say, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And you know, having a good reason for saying, yeah, we're not going to do that, or we should do it this way. And management kind of, you know, listening to you and saying, yeah, okay, that makes sense. We'll go ahead and do it this way. Or, you know, being able to make a supposition or go by a gut feeling and it making sense. So, yeah, well, I don't want to bore people with details. Actually, there's a couple things that came up in our Discord today. So just as an aside, this is not a repeat from 2017, which you know, initially we thought it was, but I have kind of a funny story about this too. So NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They're the government like compliance or recommendation board for a lot of industry rules, kind of like similar to ISO standards. You've got ISO, you've got NIST. 800-53 is one of the guiding principles for a lot of information security organizations. They are not a compliance body. For the most part, they're a nice to have, right? It'd be nice if we were fully compatible with 800-53, but nobody comes in and audits you for that unless you're actively looking for that, or you have a customer that is looking for that, but it's not a PCI standard, or it's not a SOC, or not a SOX standard like a Sarbanes-Oxley or a SOC or a SOC 2 kind of thing. They're all nice to haves or best practices that you can implement. You know how I feel about best practices. They are, they cost, right? Best practices cost in maintenance and management. So one of the few things that came out, you know, for about, 20 years, as long as I've been in information security, upper lower number special, right? Password requirements, you know, 8 characters, upper lower number special, because that's a good way to make a nice secure password. I actually found, wait. Okay, oh good, I've got my Discord up here. Yeah, here we go. We'll add this one as well. So NIST drops password complexity. They had already dropped it and used words, and to Walt's point, Walt, who's in here right now, or was, had mentioned that they changed it from, they changed how they say it, yeah, so the difference with this draft is the shift in language. Previous versions used the word should not, while this draft says shall not, which means the rule has removed from a suggestion to an actual requirement. Actual requirement. I believe that, so in this case, you know, 800-63B is the password recommendations. I believe the only ones who really treat NIST as a hard requirement is like DoD, U.S. government, mill folks, you know, where they shall not impose composition rules. So, you know, back in the day when it was, you know, 8 characters, upper lower number special, it's like you don't require upper lower number special. The idea is that you allow people a more organic method of making passwords because so they say the recommendations are, also, you know, 60 to 90 days for a password change was one of the requirements. If you've ever worked in government space, this was like sacrosanct. It was like, you must have this. You will have password complexity requirements in all your things. And so, you know, stopping the requirement of users to set passwords that were, you know, well, basically look like these. These are great passwords, all of them. Are they? Psychologically, no. And, you know, my story's coming up here in a second. So yeah, these are all great, but can you remember them? You know, and we've tried for years. As a matter of fact, it's October, so it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. There's no acronym there, okay? As a matter of fact, I wondered why I got an email on October 1st during our on-site about annual security training. So I had to take the ASA, annual security assessments. And I was like, wow, okay, I wonder why that is. And then I was like, oh, wait, Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And so, it was a 10-minute training. Took me 8 minutes to get through because I just tested out of it, but it was pretty good. So the big thing now is, you're not going to have to shove down, and actually this is a great thing for security people too, because how many organizations, yours included, require an uppercase, lowercase, a number, and a special character, at least in their passwords? Every company I have worked for, including the Navy, was, that was a hard requirement, at least 8 characters. Some are, even longer, like, you have 12-character password or something. There was a joke that I had when I worked at Xerox about a decade ago for password complexity requirements, and it was like, no consecutive characters, and the password couldn't start with a number or a special character. And it was like, there were so many restrictions on the password policy that it was like, you had to make them in a certain, it could not exceed certain characters. So that was the other thing they said, no 60 to 90 day, stop requiring users to change passwords, or mandatory periodic changes. So 60 to 90 days, CSPs were instructed to stop using knowledge-based authentication or security questions when selecting passwords, which is great. No security-based, like, what color is the sky? Blue. Or, questions that could be easily answered for security questions, that are easy, like how many tattoos do I have? Or allowing people to make their own security questions, probably the worst. The other one is, CSPs, which are credential service providers, shall require them. Okay, so they still have a minimum of 8 characters, and should require, what? CSP shall require passwords to be a minimum of 8 characters in length and should require passwords to be a minimum of 15 characters in length. So which one is it, bruh? Interesting. I'm not sure why they're setting a maximum. You can do that. I mean, I've seen it in other places where it was like a maximum of 20 characters. I think my bank at one time had set like a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 20, and I was like, I don't understand that. If you're hashing it, it doesn't matter how long the value is, unless you've got some kind of concern about that. Or maybe they think after 20 characters, you're not going to remember it anyway. CSP should allow ASCII and Unicode characters to be included in passwords. Sure. I mean, if you can put an emoji in there, shit, have at it. I think the big thing for this that I'm thinking about is how many hours have been, I want to say, wasted? How many hours have been spent, hey, Bob, you need to change your password, tickets into people for password resets because of reasons, or, the jokes about password one, or password audits, being able to, run password audits of things. Harping on password complexity. I mean, when your annual security training is, creating, good passwords, and it's like, oh, should be a combination of upper, lower number of special. It's like, it sounds great. Ultimately, it's self-defeating, because let me see where they say, NIST is making the recommendation for resets in the case of credential breach only. If your company has been found to be in a credential breach, or have I been pwned or something like that, then you ask for them to do a reset. Now, in this case, I would say password history is going to be more important, or password similarity is going to be very important. I think it's not complexity purposes, but it's like you don't really want somebody to say, password is, Logitech 1, Logitech 2. some kind of similarity or history thing where it's like, I think the history thing is great because you don't want like the previous 24 passwords to be used. So people just rotating autumn 2024, autumn something something. And that would be a check before the hashing, I think, in this case. But I think we're no longer going to see things like this, where the site password is. I think things like password history, password similarity, and I think we're still going to harp on using passwords in the same password in multiple places. I think those are still going to be a legitimate concern. Those are the things we'll still kind of train people to try to avoid. I don't think password lockers are going to go away if you have multiple accounts or something like that. But the one thing I did see from this is Password Guru regrets past advice. So, this guy named Bill Burr, he's not the comedian. He's different Bill Burr. So he acknowledged in 2003 manual he was barking up the wrong tree. And, I think maybe he's a little hard on himself because in 2003 it was a different world, right? This was in 2017. So this predates the changes that we've made. But I found this article, as part of, discussing, and this was, I think, just after they had been talked about making the changes the first time. He said the reason for doing so was, let's see, anything published. He said it recommended that passwords abandon, pushing your users into regular password resets. So in 2017, they were working on this. So this is 7 years in the making to move from, hey, maybe you can just, make that optional to, no longer do that. But his where was that? He said that the idea was, let's see, pig coffee wandered black than it does for them to guess a password with easy to remember substitutions like broken. His original advice was distributed by U.S. government NIST. It's been amended several times. I think what his idea was he was trying to create complexity, right? If you're just using A to Z, 1, 2, 3, 0 through 9, A to Z, uppercase A to Z, people are going to pick a single word. And in 2003, computing power was far less than what it was now, right? And there's the joke from XKCD about horse stapler battery, whatever, it's great that Mr. Burr is in 2003 it was probably the way to go, but we've spent so long trying to get this ingrained in people. It's going to probably take us another 10 years to get it out of company culture and security people. GRC and auditing tools. I don't know if PCI, let me see, PCI 4.0. I want to say that it's still in the PCI standards. I'd imagine it will change fairly soon. Okay, they're at 401 right now. So, but Section 8 was all about the password complexity requirements. So, if you're dealing with this year's, I don't want to fill that out. Wait, contact Berber, head dude, my country USA, and that's all optional. Okay, so accept. There we go. All right. Well, that's how easy that was, folks. Oh, well, there you go. You can also just avoid all that shit and go pick up the PCI DSS PDF yourself without having to be put on some kind of mailing list. Looks like they didn't do a very good job of blocking that once you've got authentication. So yeah, it used to be chapter 8, but they have password complexity requirements in here. There we go. Let's see. 194 instances in there. Default passwords. Okay, get rid of your default passwords, which is always a great idea. Malicious passwords. Okay, yes, passwords on wireless access points, SNMP defaults, authentication factors, dual control. Okay, they may have already updated theirs. I mean, they did have 7 years to plan for this, so and it has, to be fair, a few years since I've had to deal with PCI at all. So authentication factors, ID requirements, 800-63 acceptable frameworks. Okay, yeah, they still have a chapter 8 or requirement 8 in this case. Let's see. Entity being multi-factor. I think PCI kind of moved to being more multi-factor versus just, you know, straight passwords. So maybe they dropped the hard password requirements, but they said you're going to use a password and you're going to have some kind of second factor, whether it be SMS or going to be you know, some sort of 2FA or OAuth flow or something like that. Yeah. So. Yeah. Passphrase is authentication. Set a unique value for first time and upon reset, force change reset. Examine procedures for setting and resetting passwords and passphrases. That's always good. Anyway. Oh yeah. So without lockout. Yeah. So you know, you're still gonna, you know, as mentioned in here, they're talking about lockouts and stuff. You're probably going to need to implement things like password, not resets, but like X number of times to log in before you're locked out, which you should already be doing. And, you know, start, the training could be, hey, you know, we're gonna, you know, make it a phrase, you know, make it a song lyric that you enjoy, like, you know, Stairway to Heaven. Just don't make it your favorite song, you know, don't, you know, if you broadcast on your Instagrams, hey, I love me some of that Stairway to Heaven, don't make your password Stairway to Heaven. You know, I think that's I think it's going to be important. And you know, to be fair, today I actually tried to log into my box here, and Microsoft said, "Hey, it's time to change your password because for whatever reason they're still using 90-day requirement." And I changed my password, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I won't make it like a super hard password." So I made it something like, you know, correct horse battery staple or something. It was 3 words. And I said, oh, I better put that in my password locker. Okay, let me get past one password up. And then all of a sudden, oh, squirrel. And I went over here. I actually don't know what my password is now. So completely forgot. It's just, you know. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out what I'm going to do, you know, safely resetting my password because I don't want to get locked out of any machines. Because if I hit Control-Alt-Delete on my Windows 11 box, it says, oh, you must put the old password in. Well, I don't know what that is. Damn you, security people. So kind of funny there. But yeah, it was. I'm sure I'll figure it out. I have to go to Microsoft.com or something like that. So, how many of you have books? Like, how many of you have security books or IT books? Because raise your hands, because I know y'all do. I was going through some of my books because I was like, oh, I want to, you know, look through this one book to see if, you know, what to do for things, something like I think I was looking at Python or something like that, and it was a no starch press book, and I had bought it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago in a Humble Bundle, and the book is obsolete because it uses Python 2, Python 2.6 as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly. And I found myself, I was like, wow, this book is somewhat useless with regards to Python because everything's in 3 now, right? So I've been trying to find a book on malware analysis, and the only one that everyone seems to talk about with malware analysis is one that is almost 12 years old. You know, uh, the YouTube videos we were doing was great, but I was, always like to get a second opinion when I'm learning something new, different resources for those things. So I was looking at GitHub, like a list of assembly language reversing malware analysis resources. This is from 3 years ago. And when you go to the gist for this, some of these, I mean, even 3 years ago, or even, even some of the stuff on this list have dead links because they just don't exist anymore. Or, it's some of the stuff's outdated. Oh, Azaria Labs, I think that one's probably behind a paywall now because Azaria has, oh, okay, this is, oh, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Is it Unicorn? I think it was Unicorn. But there's there's still quite a few things here if you want to learn how to do that. There's a lot of YouTube videos which are great for reversing ARM assembly, x64 stuff. Here's a, I think I've actually looked at this one. No, it's only 10 minutes and 44 seconds. No. Hack UCF. Okay. Oh, interesting. University of Central Florida. Okay. I actually was looking at this one too. This is the CS6038 by UC Malware Analysis. It is from the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computing Systems at the University of Cincinnati. And looks like some of the videos were done in 2021. There's some that occurred in 2020, like before and even during the pandemic, which is kind of interesting. Actually, oh, here it is, Malware Unicorn stuff. There we go. Hey, Walt, I have a real nice intro to Python. I will not be buying for my nibbling. Yeah, see, same thing. It's like intro to Python. Maybe if you were wanting to set that up. Oh, reverse engineering 101, 254 minutes remaining. I don't understand that. Oh, is Malware Unicorn's malware analysis shop, reverse engineering shop still good? Okay. I touted this one for quite a while. This is a different site. Interesting. No, where was that? No, where did I go for this? Oh, there you go. So old assignments. So there was recommended resources. There we go. So there's Malware Unicorn's website. Amanda Rousseau. She does an amazing job. Yeah, no, this is all great stuff. Class.malware.re, copy. Yeah, actually, some of this stuff I already probably have bookmarked because I have about 5,000 bookmarks that I've got to get rid of at some point. As you can see, I've got a bunch of shite up here. Been trying to make heads or tails of it. I actually have a plugin that I can use for analyzing all of my bookmarks for trying to get rid of stuff that's dead or 404. I've got some stuff in there from like 2010, 2010 and earlier that no longer work. So because as you can see, I've got a bunch of stuff down this way as well. So I come from an older generation where bookmarks didn't replicate across browsers. The only way you could save your bookmarks when you were, you accidentally rebuild your computer and you're like, oh shit, I lost all my bookmarks. Now you just log into Firefox, you just log into your Microsoft Edge browser here, and you've got all your bookmarks back again. So, yeah, fun times. So, yeah, a ton of good stuff here in the recommended resources. RPI course, I don't know about that one. Tuts for You, I've been to that one before. Malware Analyzer. There's going to be some tools here that are independent from Jeff of All Trades stuff. Now, see, there you go. There's a dead link there. Malwareanalyzer.com is for sale. So if you want to buy malwareanalyzer.com for $3,500, you can do that. Or you can just lease it for $300 a month, which means you're using a domain and then you won't even own it, but you have to pay $300 a month for it. So, yeah, I can't imagine leasing a domain. At some point, you must be able to buy it, right? Okay, so you can purchase a domain and pay for it in monthly installments. Okay. Can you imagine? That's a freaking car payment every month. Man, not an expensive car, but if you leased a car, you know, like a Toyota Corolla or something, that would be, you know, so much down and then $300 a month or something like that. That's US. I'm wondering how much cheaper it is to. So you can buy it in what's 10 months, 11 months thereabouts. Yeah. I have GoDaddy, which is kind of funny for my registrar. Ghidra scripting. I mean, this is all fairly, yeah, see, so some of this happened during the pandemic. So, but it's, you know, so I'd say it's more recent than some of the books you might find out there. And I mean, I'm not, you know, throwing shade on practical malware analysis. It's a, you know, it's a seminal book. It is a bit dated though. So it's 800 pages and it was built in or written in February 2012. So hopefully the authors will come around and create a version 2 or what have you. But so there you go. Oh, damn it, I screwed that one up. That may not work. Yeah, okay. Try this one because I accidentally put a tick mark in there. But yeah, so, you know, trying to find a good Python tutorial or something like that, because as I have played around in my off time being time that I'm not working and time that I'm not streaming with you fine folks, everybody teaches differently, right? And it goes back to security awareness training. You teach people certain things, you teach them in a certain manner. Some people don't get it in the way that it should be, and I'm trying to figure out a way to learn that scripting language. You know, I know a little bit of Bash, enough Bash to be dangerous, I think, but you know, I'm always trying to move towards that. The new thing, if you're not learning Python, appears to be doing things like transpiling C and C++ code to Rust, which I had been doing some research on because C++ to Rust. And there's actually tools that will help with that, including something like this, Crust, which I understand in the grand scheme of things is probably not too difficult to do, but you're gonna probably need to do a little bit of QA for these things. This tool, yeah, so this tool is intended to translate existing C++ code base into Rust with less effort, less effort. May require manual lookup or last minute edits to the translated code. So it'll get you some percentage of the way towards Rust, especially if you're doing some kind of refactoring where it's like, I don't want to have to rewrite Rust code from our C or C++. So we'll make those changes for you or make the differences. It's a parser, I would imagine, where it's parsing your code, looking through, and making the necessary changes to that. So what does it say? It asks whether the program should be converted into a cargo project. Essentially sets up the program into a project package management. Check out crates.io for more information. Do you enter the translation strict or loose? Do you want to create a cargo project? No. I think if you're going to go from, I guess it depends on your use case. If you want a quick and dirty, going from C to Rust, then you're going to want to go loose. If you want to be more strict about it, then yeah, you'll have to do that. But I still think even though you're going to make those changes from C++ to Rust, you're going to want to take a look at some heavy QA on that to make sure that you're not running into any issues. You know, highlight any areas where they've marked it as unsafe. Because as we saw during our previous streams when we were trying to learn Rust, there's a handful of things that your code may be able to do unsafely, but maybe there's a different way of doing it in Rust. So. and doing it in strict, you may not get as good a transfer of code, or things may be different. What does it say? Mutable here. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So I asked a question when I had myself muted if we're going to go to dinner, and the answer was yes. So I am getting back into the swing of things after being gone for a week. I did miss everybody, and wanted to get back on Friday. I cannot make that promise yet, though, because Friday is the deadline where we have to get all of our goals into our little system that we use to monitor things. So stand by to stand by. Worst thing could happen is I do it on a Saturday or something like that. So, but yeah, I think we're gonna go get some dinner. Sorry for the shortness of the stream, but hope you've got a lot of stuff here to look at. Some things you can play with and poke around with regards to things like binary code analysis. And been watching about Rust. They say basic Rust isn't hard, but asynchronous and multi-threading makes the difficulty get much harder. So when writing Rust, always start simple first. Sure, you can always start single-threaded and then move into multi-threading later. Because yeah, you will have issues with potential, I don't want to say race conditions, but that is always a thing when you're dealing with multiple processing or other things like that. I can't even I don't know what I don't know, but I know that it abounds, and Walt could probably talk at some length about that. But yeah, I'm gonna go get some dinner, and join us on our Discord because I want to meet with y'all. I've thought about maybe engaging more on Discord, so some of you lovely people can talk on our Discord and talk back and forth with me, so it's a little more back and forth instead of just me talking and reading your replies. So maybe if you're a subscriber, we'll do a subscriber thing where you can join the Discord and we can chat. Yeah. Okay, Fix It. Have a good day. Take care. And Walt, you have a good day too. And to everyone else lurking, have a good rest of your day. Be kind to one another and take care of yourselves. Because as we're fond of saying, you're the only you have. Okay? Bye, y'all. Talk to you soon.